Have you ever experienced a moment of such clarity when everything seems to make sense and you knew what you needed to do? Those moments are super rare and they're fleeting, yet they become so powerful. But here's the question. Are you capturing these and you act upon what you knew you should do, or are you just letting them slip away? And look, a few years ago, I had such a powerful moment of clarity. I still remember it so clearly. And to be honest, at the time, I wasn't looking for answers. I just needed a break from the noise of my life, the corporate pace, the endless meetings, the stress. It all felt like this race to nowhere. And so my friend Alex, he urged me to take some time for myself to come here to Brazil to, as he said, to unplug and disconnect. You know, he had a house on the beach and he said, come, you need it, my friend. So I accepted the invitation. And that afternoon, it's a bit like, it wasn't like today, the sky was super blue and the setting was very similar. Beautiful trees like this hugging the coastline. I could hear the sound of the waves as I left the house and just walked along the beach. And I was just looking at the waves as they come rolling in. And I was just hoping I could find some peace inside. And I walked along the shore and my mind was just frantic. And in the distance, I saw some big boulders. And I said, you know what? Let me go and climb up and sit there. And I had nothing to do that day. And I'd come, to Brazil to disconnect. So I went to the boulders, I sat down. And at first, my mind was just racing with sharp thoughts, unfinished tasks, work deadlines, personal worries, future obligations. And I was thinking, why can't I calm down and just enjoy this moment? I couldn't connect. So I decided, you know what? I'm gonna close my eyes and make a conscious effort to, focus on that moment, listen to the sound of the waves, feeling the warmth of the sun on my skin. I could hear birds in the distance, and it took time, but gradually, this mental chatter in my mind started to just fade away. So I sat in silence and I had these thoughts bubble up in my mind, and I let them come and then drift away. And at first, there was many thoughts, they just coming, oh my gosh. But then slowly, they started to slow down. And then it happened. It came to me with such clarity. I'd been running someone else's race. I was living a life that had been disconnected with my true self. In that instant, I saw how far I had drifted from what truly mattered to me. My love for nature, for discovery, my creative side. I had so many interests: photography, playing the guitar, writing. But over time, I had traded what I truly loved with routines, material comfort. And that realization just hit me like a giant wave, just like that. In that instant, for the first time in years, I saw the broader picture of my life. But something else also happened. I saw that this clarity, so crisp, so powerful in that moment, could rapidly disappear, as I knew I was gonna get sucked back into my world of habits and run even faster in that hamster wheel. So I had to capture this newfound clarity. So I grabbed this leather notebook I would take with me everywhere, and I wrote in big caps letters, moments of clarity. And then I started writing, just letting it flow, just right through me. I started not trying to control what was coming out from within and just capturing it all on paper. And in that moment, I realized how I had not taken a hard look at my life in such a long time. And I'd just been, going along with emotions. I stopped reflecting on my life. So I wanted to capture it all before it faded, because you see, that's the thing about these moments. They're super clear at first, but then quickly, they turn blurry if you don't act on them. And I came to understand that over the years. Moments like these often come when we slow down. And interestingly, scientific research support the idea that moments of stillness can lead to profound insights. Studies have shown, some form of introspection and meditation can remodel the way information is accessed and propagated across the brain, involving direct connections across multiple areas, interior insula, the prefrontal region. So in other words, you start connecting the broader parts of the brain. You start connecting the dots, and you drive much deeper self-awareness. And that's why clarity typically doesn't come during chaos, during moments where you're just being busy, but in such quiet moments. And now what's important to understand is that moment didn't solve everything. But what it did was it planted a seed. And I told myself, I have to stop living on autopilot. I have to reconnect with what makes me feel alive. And in that one commitment, sparked a new path, like a little shift in the direction I was going. I started to spend more of my free time doing different things, doing the things I used to love. I used to travel, and I went back into nature. I started writing again. So that simple moment just set the wheels of my life into motion, and I started to change course. Now, moments of clarity can happen to anyone, but they're useless if you don't act. So here's what I want you to do. Think about a time when you had a sudden realization. Think about your work, a relationship, or your life's direction overall. Take the time to do this. Pause the video if you have to, and maybe you find one such moment. Maybe you find many. Now, grab a piece of paper and a pen and write them down. What did you feel that day? What did you see so clearly? And then decide one small action you can take today to honor that moment of clarity. You see, what I didn't realize back then was that clarity is just the beginning. Acting on it, now that's the real challenge. To translate the insight into meaningful change, because our lives are so controlled by our habits. It's like so hard to not just fall back to your old routines. And this is the perfect example of the powerful 3-step process that I shared in a prior video to start to transform your life. In a moment of awareness, you have a deep clarity. You see that you need to shift your direction, your aim, and then you start to take action. And if you missed that video, I put a link below. So what are the key takeaways? First, clarity emerges when we allow ourselves the space to reflect and listen to our inner voice. When we embrace stillness, we can uncover truths that guide us towards a more fulfilling life. In my case, this happened mostly when I took a break from my daily life, when I went away, when I went somewhere remote, like here, where I could see my life from a distance. I had time to reflect. Second, you can't force these moments to happen, but you can create the circumstances to help them surface from within. And third, as fast as they come, they disappear, just like that. So capture them, write them down, and then keep going back to them and remind yourself what changes you need to make, what clarity you saw. And then finally, remember, it's not enough to simply experience these moments of clarity. They mean nothing unless you act upon what you saw so clearly. And that's what drives true transformation. I hope you experience many such moments in your life. Thank you for watching, and join me in the next videos as we continue to go so much deeper. Thank you.